When we talk about the golden era of American pop music, one name echoes louder than the rest: Brian Wilson. He wasn't just a genius behind the Beach Boys' sun-soaked hits about surfing and California girls. He was an architect of sound, a studio visionary who sculpted lush harmonies and redefined what pop music could be. But behind the brilliance was a man locked in a lifelong battle with mental illness, family trauma, and the relentless weight of perfection. In this video, we explore the extraordinary mind, heartbreaking struggles, and enduring legacy of one of America's most gifted and haunted musical legends, Brian Wilson. Chapter 1: Southern California Dreams and Darkness. Born on June 20th, 1942, in Hawthorne, California, Brian Wilson showed signs of musical brilliance from the very beginning. Perfect pitch, a deep love of melody, and an intuitive grasp of harmony. But behind the talent was turbulence. Brian's father, Murray Wilson, was both a driving force and a destructive presence. Though he supported his son's musical pursuits, he was also domineering and often cruel. The emotional scars from that relationship would linger in Brian's psyche, shaping his sensitive nature and insatiable need for approval, traits that would drive his art and haunt his life. Chapter 2: The Beach Boys and the California Illusion. In 1961, Brian formed the Beach Boys with his brothers Carl and Dennis, cousin Mike Love, and childhood friend Al Jardine. Their debut hit Surfing kicked off a string of successes that defined the sound of 1960s California. But Brian wanted more than just catchy summer anthems. Behind the beach party facade, he was crafting increasingly sophisticated songs, inspired by Phil Spector's wall of sound, classical music, and avant-garde experimentation. While the world danced to their upbeat hits, Brian was already composing something deeper. Chapter 3: Pet Sounds, a masterpiece ahead of its time. In 1966, Brian unveiled his magnum opus, Pet Sounds. At just 23, he had stepped away from touring to focus on studio work, and what he created was nothing short of revolutionary. With tracks like God Only Knows and Wouldn't It Be Nice, he wove orchestral textures, unusual instruments, and raw emotion into an album that shattered pop conventions. The Beatles famously credited Pet Sounds as the spark behind Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. But despite its brilliance, the album's lukewarm U.S. reception crushed Brian. That blow, coupled with rising internal pressures, marked the beginning of his emotional and mental unraveling. Chapter 4: Descent into Darkness. As Brian pushed the boundaries of sound, his mental state deteriorated. He began hearing voices, battled waves of anxiety and depression, and increasingly turned to drugs like LSD in a desperate bid for inspiration and escape. By the late 60s, he had withdrawn from the spotlight. His ambitious Smile project, once described as his teenage symphony to God, was shelved. Brian retreated to his bedroom for years, disconnected from the world, heavily medicated, and battling demons no one could fully see. Chapter 5: Under Control, the Dr. Landy Years. In the 1980s, Brian fell under the controversial care of psychologist Dr. Eugene Landy. At first, Landy's intervention seemed to help, but it soon became clear his methods were exploitative. Landy took over every aspect of Brian's life, controlling his finances, isolating him from family, and even taking songwriting credits. The line between therapy and manipulation blurred. Eventually, legal action ended Landy's hold, but the damage to Brian's autonomy and trust was deep. Chapter 6: A Phoenix Rises, Comebacks and Closure. Despite everything, Brian's story didn't end in tragedy. Against all odds, he made a powerful comeback in the late 90s and 2000s, releasing acclaimed solo work, returned to stage, and finally completing Smile after more than 35 years. Audiences wept. Critics hailed his return as a miracle. His fragility became his strength. His pain gave his music even greater meaning. In 2004, the long-lost Smile was reborn and met with the reverence it always deserved. Brian Wilson was finally celebrated the way he should have been all along, with Grammy Awards, Kennedy Center honors, and a permanent place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Chapter 7: A Legacy Etched in Harmony and Heartache. Brian Wilson's life is a portrait of paradox, glory and grief, genius and suffering, symphony and silence. He didn't just write songs. He captured longing, innocence, pain, and hope in a way that few artists ever could. His story forces us to confront what genius really looks like. It's not always polished or triumphant. Sometimes it's fragile, wounded, and deeply human. Today, Brian's influence echoes in every richly layered track, every innovative producer's approach, every song that dares to be emotionally honest. His music wasn't made just for his time. It was made for all time.